a lot of us are messed up, not just in the dope, what we use, but in our thinking and what we see. See, when I was loaded and doing what I did, even when I did time, man, I wasn't like them and all that shit. And some of the dudes that I went in with, they go, look where you're at, man, right? And then that's when I started working and listening, watching, just like on the streets, at work. There's people at work that do certain things and all that. It was hard for me, man, because the job, I was there 22 years before I got all tore up. And
Hey guys, if you're listening to the podcast, if they're hearing this, they're obviously listening to the podcast, right? Right? If you're enjoying this podcast or you just want to support the podcast, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, turn on the notifications. Thank you for the support. This podcast is brought to you by our friend and realtor, Naomi Townsend with Keller Williams Property Teams. She'll help you in every step of the way, whether you're buying or selling a home, commercial property, mobile home, or even a vacant lot. In the last few years, she's helped hundreds of families buy their dream homes in the Central Valley, Bay Area, Monterey, and even the Sacramento area. Check her Zillow profile where she has a perfect 5-star ranking. She is also bilingual in Spanish. In 2021, she was in the national top 2 in her brokerage. Please, guys, check out her Instagram, Sold by Naomi, or reach out to her at 408-623-1414. All the links are in the bio. Remember, guys, support those who support us. This podcast is brought to you by our friends at Sorensen's Ace Hardware, located at 402 Washington Avenue in Los Banos, proudly serving the community since 1947. Please check out our friend at Sorensen's for all your hardware needs. Come on, guys, support those who support us. Thanks, Sorensen's. Sorensen's also has a Modesto location located at 1433 Coffee Road. Modesto, true value for all your hardware needs. For all of our people out in the Modesto area, please support those who support us. Thank you.
You gotta get uncomfortable to get comfort.
There's some help, and it ain't on the way. It's already waiting for you.
This little pill right here could take over your life, and I found that out the hard way. Mission statement of this podcast: highlight stories of people that I've met in my journey in recovery. Jose, thank you for coming down here and sitting with us. I really appreciate you guys doing this.
thank you for having us, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so, man, I've known Jose ever since I got clean, man. He's that guy that's just always there. No matter where you are, Jose's always there, right? And not only do I see him all over the place, he texts me every single day, right? And he sends me a few readings, and he's just one of those guys that, no matter how long you've been doing this thing, you stay passionate about it, and you care about the newcomer. You treated me, like you do now when I first came in, and so you're one of the guys I look to and say, man, this guy's got something I want, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. So what's your clean date, Jose?
December 5th, 1988.
1988. Mm-hmm. So what is that? Almost 34 years. Yeah. Wow, man.
Yep.
Hey, so
You're
what
not
is?
even 34, are you?
I'm 40.
Oh,
I'm 40.
really?
Yeah.
Shit.
Hey, I'll take it.
No, that's cool though.
Hey,
Yeah.
Some gal asked me for my ID yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah, right. And I said,
Oh shit.
I said thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Like
No,
she was.
yeah.
I was like, thank you,
I
man.
was off 10 years.
Yeah, if you think I'm 18, I'm like, these gray hairs didn't tip you off at all, right?
No, because I've been gray forever, dude. So since I came in, but no, that's cool. I remember when I met you at the softball thing in Oakdale. Yeah, Oakdale at the park.
Yeah.
And ever since then, man, like you invited us to come over here. We used to come, but I know your sponsor and all that too. And it's a good thing to stay connected like that at different places. I've been all over, man, and my last name is kind of hard not to remember when I give them my whole last name. But even in the Midwest and stuff, when we go to Wyoming or whatever, North Dakota, I go visit my kids, and we're always trying to find a meeting and stuff. So we can, you ask around, and anybody and then just like before, but it's recovery based.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a trip, man.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
So what does that clean date mean to you, Jose? I mean, what is?
I found a person that I never knew I was. The other day I talked about matching our insides with our outsides. Because a lot of us still, we work out and look all this stuff, ladies too, and I always ran on fear, even in recovery. What if? What if? What if? But what I learned by sticking around, like I used to watch this cartoon probably way before your time. It was this guys that hung out with. It was a cartoon, but we're never gonna make it. That was me when I first got clean, man. I couldn't believe it. You hear it? They're lying, all this stuff. But then I started being the one they were talking about. Oh, he can't be. Some people that knew me from the streets and shit, you're lying, all that. And then I would just tell them, hey, try it, man, right? And there's people that I met as soon as I got here now. It's a handful of them that are still around.
Right.
And so I try to do what they're doing, like you talked about me. I try to do what they're doing. My sponsor's going to be 46 tomorrow. Man, you probably know him. And I look at him, man, and we're nothing alike, right? I knew his lady and all that before she passed. But I look at the similarities now, right? Just like when people work out, they look nice, but it takes a lot of dedication and stuff. That's the way I look at my recovery, man.
Right.
I used to every day, and how we say, and then every day all this stuff. But I try to mimic what I hear sometimes. But I can never be like you or her or him or anybody. I have to work on myself, man.
Right.
So when I got here, I was going to learn how to party, on the weekends and keep my. I hear it over and over that functioning addicts. I still hear it a lot. And then I go, what's a functioning addict, right? I must have been a functioning addict for years then. I've always had a job. But what I realize now, man, that a lot of us are messed up, not just in the dope, what we use, but in our thinking and what we see. See, when I was loaded and doing what I did, even when I did time, man, I wasn't like them and all that shit. And some of the dudes that I went in with, they go, look where you're at, man. Right, and then that's when I started working and listening, watching, just like on the streets, at work. There's people at work that do certain things and all that. It was hard for me, man, because the job, I was there 22 years before I got all tore up, and to see the disease, among some of my brothers and sisters in there, man, I used to cop for them and shit, and then to watch them, they made me a supervisor. And then, try to, like in a meeting, try to run a meeting, be polite. But they were like me when I was out. They tell me where to go and all that shit. So what I learned to do is just talk to them, make contact. And you know how we are sometimes, and we're kicking the ground. And I just told them, man, it's nothing personal, but that's my job now, right? And if they don't see it upstairs, it's my ass that goes out, not them. And, they didn't turn all of them, but some of them listened.
Yeah.
But the disease, man, to me, I always knew that I had a problem. When I was in high school, man, I used to hang out with everyone. I used to play sports and all tennis, all that stuff. Got offered some. I went to UOP for about a semester, man. I was a good soccer player and all that, and I played tennis, but I didn't even make it through that semester, man. I partying in the dorms, and I only lived like 4 blocks away, but I got me, a room there so I can be on campus and all that. And then now that I look back, I blew a lot of things apart, man.
So would you say like in your early years, like childhood, everything else was pretty normal until you got up until like your college age?
High school.
High school.
11th grade, yeah. I used to roll the joint, all that, and like I hear, people share. My family, where I grew up and stuff. I hardly saw my mom and my dad. I was a middle child, and I was always running around about sports.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got up to high school, the stoners and all this shit, I used to hang around with everybody, man. And I used to hang around dudes that went to big universities and shit. I never learned how to study. I'm bilingual and shit, and sometimes I would get twisted. Now that I did the research after the fact, I had to learn how to look at the way people talk to me. I need the language, because sometimes it's reverse. And you talk about them getting loaded and shit. I used to look at my geometry teacher, and he used to go, I thought it was my moving. And he asked me to go to the blackboard when we had blackboard and do, some of the practice there. And I blew his mind away, because I just think that if I was under the influence, I could concentrate better, right? And then when he saw me do that, when you see somebody looking at you, I just made sure. But then I was scared watching find something wrong. That fear always got me to do dumb things, not just use, but do stupid things, man. You know, and like they say, I wounded myself, and I can't blame no one, man. Not the system, you know, society, not my parents, not my teachers. Some teachers just to tell me you got so much potential. And I wish I would have listened to them. They told me, you know, but I wanted to do everything, man. And eventually, you know, I crossed that line, man.
So like, where does that take you? Like, you know, you say you made it through like one semester of college and you had a career. So like, what was like the point to where things like started getting unmanageable? Like, what'd that look like?
When you get released from the locals, you know, the county jail or whatever, I was a surveyor for almost 12 years. I worked out of here too and stuff. And I thought I was cool. I would sit by my instrument, had helpers with the prisms. They walk all over, and I'd be getting loaded and stuff, right? And eventually, you know, I didn't know how to just not get loaded at work because I had to be on my, you know, oil companies and all that stuff. And what happened, I remember, you know, from my crew and stuff came from Houston. And you know, he knew I got loaded, and then he offered me some recovery literature.
Right.
And I remember looking at him, man, after we smoked the doobie, man, and I'm looking at this dude, you know, and then, but I listened to him. He goes, dude, if you can, you know, when you're working, you know how, then I guess I was a functioning addict for almost 12 years, but eventually I couldn't go without. At night, in the morning, in the day, and then I started getting arrested on a regular basis. The last time I did my stretch, man, I was in there, I go, no more, man. You know, I blamed the judges,
Right.
you know, the cops that pulled me over, man. They were, all that shit, the racial shit. Oh, they were, you know, it wasn't that. I was loaded, man. They pulled me over. I didn't have my lights on, you know, all this shit. Because I go back and I go, wow, you know. And, but see, in reality, though, I never owned to it.
Right.
I always blame everybody, my partners, my teachers, and, man, in reality, you know, we blow ourselves up, man, you know. And then I had a kid. My lady had a kid, and that was the last time I did a stretch. And to only be able to see him through the, you know, stuff, because I was major, when they busted me, it was major stuff, so I couldn't have contact with him. And then that's when I learned, you know, people telling you when to eat, shower, all that. And I hated people telling me what to do, right? So I started, you know, twisting. And I remember what that guy told me when he gave me the literature. It was from the other program, but I read it, man, and I go, wow.
So the first guy that exposed you to recovery, you were getting high with.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, it was. Well, just like we say, some have, you know, clean and a sober date.
Yeah.
And I trip on that, I go, ah. But eventually, I guess if they believe that's their recovery, right?
Right.
So I don't judge no one for that, man. All I know is I can't put nothing in my body, man. Even legal stuff, I have to be really careful.
Yeah.
You know, so, and people go, oh, no. You know, I trust, you know, I had a transplant and all that stuff, so I have to take medication now that's tearing me up, but at the same time it's keeping me alive.
Right.
To spend time with my grandbabies and shit, right? And then my boys, I finally hooked up with them in North Dakota. What it taught me, though, that I was scared. Oh, they ain't gonna want it. And they're big dudes too. I know what I did to my old man. But anyway, fear of that. But fear of them thinking that I let them down. You know what I mean? And I was wrong. You know. But again, you know, like I do what I do because I feel good about myself. Right? When you said, you know, what got me in here, I saw myself going down, man. Like I said, we would dig our own hole and stuff until we realize, hey, the only way I'm going to change is by stop.
Right. And I think that's the misconception. Like a lot of people think somebody's going to save me.
Right.
Only we can save ourselves down
Right.
here. And of course we need help from others.
Right.
So like,
Correction.
would you say like that last day in jail or in prison was what woke you up?
Right.
And so like, what does that look like? I mean, you get out.
Yeah.
And what steps do you take to start changing your life? Was it immediate or did it take a while?
No, they gave me an option. I got busted again. I almost got deported. I forgot to mention that. I was raised in Mexico for my first 7 years. I was brought here in '66. and I totally forgot that I'm just a guest in the U.S. I still have my green card or whatever. But at the time when they busted me the last time, that's when President Reagan, any mamá adult, they found that, they could scrape the baggies and all that. That's enough for the visitors to get deported. That was in the 80s. And I remember, man, shit, I wish I would have caught, with a bunch of shit and stuff. But then I realized, too, that it doesn't matter how much we use, right?
Yeah.
A lot or a little. It got me in a situation where I almost got deported, and I represented myself because I was a lawyer in the joint and shit, right? Well, I studied law for everybody,
Right.
bilingual and all that. And when I went to San Francisco, they transferred my court date up there. The only reason I'm here right now, besides my HP, is a judge that was there, and I remember the DA. He was from Texas, a Mexican guy, and he had an attitude, man. I kept dogging him, right? I brought my mom, my kids at the time, and letters from the treatment center that I went to, and the judge just turned up the mics and everything. They were recording me, and he goes, "For some reason, I'm going to make you an offer." And I go, "Okay." And then the DA was just shaking his head. I just wanted to rush him, right? And I was angry. And because I thought he should have been, give me a break, man. But anyway, the judge, he looked like Captain Mitch, this TV character from Sacramento when I was a kid watching, after school stuff. And he goes, "My partner and I went to Korea and Vietnam and barely got, scratches and stuff. They both came into the city, San Francisco. He stayed in the law. He studied. His partner became a tenderloin. Those people that we go pick them up, take them to eat, and then take them back. Because I did that when I was trying to get clean. And I remember he kept staring in my eyes. See, that's why I dig that. I don't want no problem with no one no more. But I want to make sure that if you're lying to me, I'm going to take your inventory, whether I'm right or wrong. And if you don't feel right, I'm going to tell people, hey, thank you. He told me, don't promise me nothing, don't do nothing. He didn't want to open the letters. I remember I started getting angry at him, but he had this voice, man, that I had to listen. And he was talking right at me, man. He goes, out of respect and an honor for my friend, I'm going to allow you to stay one more time. Get a jaywalking and all that stuff, spitting on the... I didn't know spitting on the sidewalk is against the law, man. You can get a ticket, right? I'm looking at this dude, yeah. And then he goes, and your parents and the children, that's nice. He goes, but I'm doing it for my friend. So I got a break right there. I could have been deported, man, just on that boom. So anyway, that's where I learned, too, not to represent myself. No, I'm serious, in places, because that's why we have special people to do those things.
Right.
A doctor, a dentist, all that stuff. And to just be to myself, to not allow my head to take over my emotions.
Right.
It's okay to feel like tear up and all that. I'm not ashamed of nothing anymore, but sometimes when I'm sharing, like lately, this little girl that I got the kidneys from, I remember telling both my doctors, I don't think I deserve that, man. My using and all that. So I did 4 years on dialysis and stuff. And I used to think, why? I'm never going to get it. But this little baby was born at UC Davis, never got to go home, right? Had her all hooked up. And she passed away. Right before she passed, they put the plug on her, and I got her kidneys, and I was supposed to get her pancreas, right, for my diabetes. And I remember when I checked in, man, that lady that checked me in, the RN, she's one of us, and I didn't know that. She didn't have I didn't see no ink or nothing on her, and I remember talking to her. And then on the way up, she asked me if I had anything to eat or drink. You heard me share my story. And I looked at this lady. I remember the judge right into her face. I go, oh, no. I'm that bad. I wear a pump now. I go, no, I'm good. And my lady at the time, Kelly, and my daughters, they were named Kellys. We were late, first of all. I was supposed to be at 8:30, like here. And then we went upstairs. So they do transplants 24/7. And she works 2 days off, 2 nights and stuff. And she told me all this shit. So she went with questions after they told her that I had those 2 Egg McMuffins from McDonald's and a small coffee, right? Just wash it down because I wanted to control my diabetes, right? All I had to do, anyway. So then she looked at me and she went down a list. And I remember I kept looking to my ex and my daughter. They both shaking their heads as I was answering her questions, right? If I had any allergies and all that. Then I was so, when she busted me, right, because they told her that I ate those things from McDonald's and the coffee. And then she goes, that could cost you the time because the transplant, the organs are ready to go, but we got to get you all checked out and all that. And I'm looking at her, oh, shit, I'm angry at them now, right? And I'm not paying attention. This is what happens if I lose. Like a little kid, I'm just trying, I'm looking over here. But I remember she kept staring at me again, like my judge there. And then at the end of those questions, she asked me, you don't know this. Are you a friend of Bill W? I go, I don't know anybody in Sacramento. Da, da, da. And then I looked over and they're both shaking. My daughter grew up in the rooms and stuff. And then she asked me again, how about Jimmy K? And I go, I don't know no one in Sacramento. And I know a lot of people and stuff, right? So I remember, I knew I was lying right to her. And she's, anyway, on the way back, she goes, okay. And then they snitched on me that I knew who was it. But then she asked me, how much screen time do you have? And I looked at her, how we communicate our languages.
Yeah.
And I looked at her, and, I took her in, there ain't no way she could have been one around this shit. And when I told her, I think I had 17, 18 years. I got my transplant in 2012, on May 30, May 27. She walked me to my room, and in the morning at 4, they came in because they had to let the food and all that stuff get out. And they took me into surgery, man. And then she asked me, did you bring your, hardware? And all I had was my original, just for today, the first one, all tore up. I didn't bring the basic. So anyways, she told me her clinic, she had 5 years at the time. And she goes, I'm here too. And I'll do the meditation. When I'm not working, I'll come and do it with you in the morning. Oh, I keep going, yeah. And then they took me in at 4 in the morning. And I remember I came out, how they dope you up and shit. And they put the pump right here for morphine with the button like the nurse's thing. And when I opened my eyes, she asked me how I felt and all that. Then she had the doctor come in. And it's those doctors, they travel, to different hospitals. And then he asked me, how you feeling? You don't have to do dialysis no more. The kidneys kicked in. And I'm listening to him, but I'm pumping it because he goes, I got good news and bad news. And I go, well, I'm here now. Just hit me with the good news, and then that way I'll recuperate. And he told me the pancreas went to someone else. And I see, remember I told you that I was getting her in my head, it was mine already, even though they hadn't put it in me. But the mother and the father of the baby said whoever needed it, when the time was there. So by the time they came and grabbed me, somebody else needed the pancreas and stuff. So they gave it to them. And see, recovery or not, I was looking at this dude, and I started pumping because I was angry. And, felt good. I can taste it right now. And then, and I wanted to kick his ass, so I cussed him out. He was from Colombia, someplace South America, but they do that so they can go back. And I remember he told me in Spanish, I was cussing him out, talking about his mama and shit. Mm-hmm. And then the lady comes over, man, takes it away from me, the thing, puts it up by my feet where I can't get it. And she goes, I'll be right back because the doctor took off, see. And I knew I was doing wrong when I was doing it by spitting it out.
Right.
See, he took my stuff. At 17, 18 years clean, man. And I remember I always wanted to tear him up, man. And they had me all tied up so I wouldn't damage my kidneys. So she went and got him. Because then she goes, you owe him a 10-step.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at him, man, like, shit, I'm going, yeah. But she brought him back. And by the time he came back, I regrouped. I mean, I'm not blaming the dope or nothing. I knew what I did, and it was wrong. How they properly admitted it and try to do something about it. Because right away I go, this dude did me good. I don't have to do dialysis. I'm still looking at the negative. It wasn't his call, but I judged him with it, man.
Right.
And then he's going, no. So I go, no, and I apologize to him. And I go, and I owe you an amends. And he goes, in Spanish. He goes, no. And I go, yes, I do. Not because of you, because now I got to live with myself. So you gave me some beautiful kidneys, right? From a little girl, and they kicked right in and keeping me alive now, right? And he just looked at me, and then that lady goes, she shook her head, and then she gave me the thing back. But after that, she wouldn't let me do it on my own.
Yeah.
See, because it felt good.
Yeah.
It kicked in the shit, man, and it was legal. See, my head right away went there. Oh, and I was hoping she would even forget. She put it by my feet, but she knew, you know how we are, and she kept it there. When your pain gets to a certain level, let me know, and then I'll come in. Okay, and I tried everything, but I was tied down. But see, what I'm so happy for that, if I wouldn't have been in clean and stuff, there ain't no way they would have taken me, right?
Yeah.
So, and then we were talking about our friend, his sponsor and I have been clean, and he went numb and all that stuff, and we share a lot of stories. And at first he got on dialysis. He didn't want to get put on the list. And I told him, you know what, God, I'm 65 now. I can live with one kidney. And I go, if I could, something happened to me, you take them both, because I believe you deserve it more than me. He goes, no, and at first he said, no, you know him. And then he goes, okay, he's got grandkids and stuff. Talked it over with his wife, and I told him, man, I'm up for it, man. If you want it, he goes, no, I'm gonna get on the list and try to do what you did. And he's about 2-3 years older than I am. And then he goes, then if you're still offering it, I'll take you up on it. See, he was ready to go, man, and that's Ray's sponsor. And anyway, and see, that's how I stay connected like that. I known him forever, and now when we talk, you know, we talk pretty good, and we're just glad to be alive, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm retired medically and all that, but when I look at him, man, and the stories he told me, like over there, I'm going, you know, with Terry, when I ride with Terry, sometimes he opens up and I go, shit, I thought I had it back, you know,
Right.
in our streets and shit, some of the shit that they saw. And they're clean, you know, like us. And so that's where I try to listen to people's stories now and not compare me to them, but if they can do that, I can do it.
can do it
You know, like shoelaces and all that shit. I still get angry and stuff when they get all twisted. But anyway, and I make a scene, right? And I go, man, I'm mad at myself. I'm calling myself an asshole and all that stuff. But in reality, though, before, you know, I beat up my car, my bike and shit. And then be sorry later. And I learned from when I treated that doctor, I disrespected him. My sponsor says, how would you like if somebody did that to you?
Yeah.
And I go, most likely, you know. He goes, no, and they beat your ass if you did that. Because you always think. And in my head, I wanted to tell him something stupid, you know. And I go, oh, we play chess with my head and stuff. I go, okay. I pretend like I know what he means. Because, you know, I've been together with him. I got 34 years. 32 now, we're going on 33 years working together now. And I've learned something from him, man. And he tells me he's learned something from me. I guess when I see somebody change, you know, when I met you, you were playing softball and stuff. Then when you share it, I go, no way, you know, when we share our stories. But in reality, we all have our, you know, ups and downs, character defects and all. But that's what I try to focus on now, you know. If you don't like it, what makes you think they like it?
Well, and that's what I benefit from the most in the rooms is learning how to identify with people, right? You listen to them share, and you can hear it in their share. They don't even actually have to say it.
Right.
But if you know they suffer like you do from some certain character defect or shortcoming, then you learn to call that person, right? And then you become friends, like you did with your buddy that has kidney issues, right? And that ties the bind. But I want to run you back a little further to your first years in recovery, right? Did you come into recovery like happy, like, oh, this is going to be a new way of life? Did you resent it when you first came in? Like, what did that look like for you?
All I heard for the rest of your life.
Right.
I was going, shit. You know, and I was pretty young. Well, I was 31 when I came in. And I was going, shit, I still got me some, at least 20, right? But I read some of the material, man, the basic text, the 5th edition, I still got it. And there's stories in there in the back that I could relate to, even though they're from different areas and stuff. Like, I like what you said. Something to me, it can be, and then some, you can look, what the hell's wrong with him, right? I do that, man.
Right.
Like, and then I go, whoa, that's me looking at them, but it's a different situation. Try to be a snake.
Right.
Oh, I don't do that shit, and I do, you know. And but you know what I learned though, I was gonna give it a shot, right? And like they say, whatever it is, just stay clean one more day. And I started counting them and stuff. Oh, when I was locked up the last time, you know, and I closed the guy, I go, the days were going way too slow. Now the years are hauling ass on me, man. especially when I got up, in my 20s and stuff, recovering, getting clean. But I've always gotten into service.
Right.
H&I, PI, public information, going to the courts with some of the judges, just to lock me up. And they can't believe it, man. And they praise me, they do a good job. Some of my brothers from high school, they were sheriffs and all that. They used to lock me up and all that. Bailiffs at the court. And then they know I'm in recovery and they get in touch with me because they have a friend who has a friend. Sometimes it's them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just tell them, hey, this is how I do it. I invite them to go with me. I don't drive and stuff. They drive me, we go. A couple have stayed, but not most of them are just big on. But like you said, I can only change myself.
Right.
And give back what's freely was given to me, money-wise.
In 34 years in, the road narrows in recovery, right? So, can you explain, what it's like getting older in recovery? In dealing with the issues, because I'm thinking, man, if my kidneys are failing or I'm going through this, it's going to be really hard for me to stay spiritually connected, right?
Right. No, well, I don't like any kind of pain, physical, emotional, all that, mind games and stuff. But they always tell me, too, unless I engage.
Right.
If I engage with my brain, I'm going to lose. I used to play chess with myself, but I always knew what I did. So I thought once I hit the streets, that's all I got to do, right? Don't drive when I'm loaded and all shit. Who listens to it, right?
Yeah.
But in reality, I go, I'm going to try to do what that guy does, what that guy does. People suggest to me what I should try. And if I really respect you, I dig watching new people come in and getting the bug of, recovery like that. With me, I questioned it for the first 5, maybe 7 years.
Right.
Every time I would celebrate my clean day, I go, yeah. And I go, but I'm still got to go the rest of my life, right? And I forget to live in the here and now, man, right? Because you never know what's going to happen and stuff. All this shit in society now. But even in our rooms, I still watch people come in. I got to know their kids and stuff. And it hurts me, man, and all I can do is try to serve as an example, man. And I have my family really supports my recovery, right? They didn't kick me in the ass or nothing. They still praise me when I celebrate. Anytime I go celebrate my recovery, they're thankful for that.
Yeah.
Because I hurt them the most, actually, and I still, oh well, maybe no. I don't question that. If I pick up again, we always say that. I hear people say it that we might not come back, and I've been watching people come in and out. And my partner from Fresno, it kind of hurt my feelings when I heard him share that. He goes, you know what, that's not a rotating door, and people just take our recovery, our program for, they don't give it credit.
Yeah.
And at least give it a chance, man. And I judge people, man, but I keep my mouth shut.
Right.
I don't want to be like him, or I want to be like him. And then I watch people how they treat their children in meetings, and oh man, sometimes I just want to slap them on the side of their heads because kids are kids, man, and they learn from us,
Right.
recovered or not. So what I always try to tell people when I see with their children, give them a chance, man. So people yell at you, but not in front of people. I try to take them to the side and just try to be careful, man, because then they'll learn that. So that, to me, that's ammo to use so they can pick up later, like I did.
Right.
Every negative thing, if I knew, why did I do it, right? The famous words of the newcomer, I know, know what?
Yeah.
But what your question is that I still take what people share and I apply it. Like I go in my little room and shit and I go, oh, it feels good, right? But you got to practice that too.
Right.
You got to practice that, getting life. And it's a daily thing for me. My health now I wish that I could do even 10 years ago, man, right? I just celebrated 10 years with my kidneys. But then they tell us, don't trip on the past. Live the now and look where you want to be tomorrow.
Right.
It's okay to plan things, but don't expect it. If it don't come through, it don't come through, right? I still got a couple more years to do it.
Right.
I try not to play the victim, because we victimize ourselves. At least I do, man. And then after I think about it, well, why'd you do that? Why'd you even think that? See, I don't know how to shut it off sometimes.
Well, the funny thing is, like you talked about, like feeling like you don't deserve those kidneys, right? And then you say, and at that time you'd been participating in a life-saving program
Right.
for 18 years, now 34 years. People like you, to people like me, are so important, because if there wasn't people like you, those doors wouldn't be open, right? And I wouldn't be here today, right? I'm a firm believer, because the first time I came in, I was 24 years old, right? I came in and I didn't believe that anybody was clean, right? I'd see guys that were commuting, they
Yeah.
tired. I thought, oh, that guy's stoned, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I didn't give it an honest try.
Right.
I think somebody just hit the building, and anyways, yeah, sure. What made it clear to me that I really wanted to try this thing is when I came back 10 years later, and some of those people were still there, right? And I said, I'm
Holding
gonna
the fort.
give this thing an honest chance,
Right.
So I get it, like being in the rooms and not thinking this don't work, right? Because I didn't want to work it,
Right.
right?
Right.
And but at the same time, like what keeps you coming back, Jose? Because I mean, you're a steadfast member of the recovery, recovery in this whole area. I mean, you're everywhere. Like, what keeps you plugged in at this point?
I enjoy it. I have fun. I have fun when I watch people come in and get it the way I got it, but without having to work as hard as I had to. We got so much literature now, so much knowledge written by us for us, that when I read this new stuff, it's like if I wrote it, right? Like when we do a fourth step and stuff like that. And what I try to do now, instead of criticizing, because I used to think I want to rewrite the 5th edition, the basic text. Oh man, the readings. Oh man, this is what they should write down. When I got into service, people smarter than me do that stuff. They know, I didn't even know that much grammar and stuff, but I shared with my mouth, and people would write it down. I went to World and all that stuff, representing a region. But in reality, man, I just try to stay teachable and honorable. So.
Yeah. Well, and so if somebody's like listening to this podcast, Jose, and they may be struggling, right? And they can't stay clean, or they're trying to get clean, or even if they're early in recovery, like, is there any advice that you give for somebody that's new or that wants to get clean?
I just tell them to give themselves a break.
Right.
Don't expect you to believe in a higher power or, your boss and all that. Now they got so much help from employers for people now that back in my day, they try to give them a break and all that stuff. Back in my day, if they busted you, even when I was in charge there, I had to report people, right? When they damaged a pallet or something, whether they was major or not, I felt like a snitch, right?
Right.
But to me, that was my mentality. To me, I feel good today, first of all, because no matter what, I don't pick up. But I have to be careful with my character defects, because I justify it. Oh, they had it coming. Oh, hell, and then in reality, anytime I think like that, it's like they say, before you spit it out, think about it. I still think about it, but I still spit it out. I can handle it. And then it feels ugly, right? And then I don't have the substance to make me feel okay and not feel that pain, right? Like, if I put my finger on the fire, it's going to burn, right? But I don't understand, because I haven't done it, but other people have. They know once they pick up, not all of them, once they pick up, they end up almost back, if not even worse, right? So I watch that too, and I go, no. If I do that, what's going to keep me from not doing that? See, I don't know, and I don't want to find out. I keep hanging out with the winners, man.
Yeah.
And no matter what. But at the same time, I got to share this. I did a lot of service and stuff. And when my daughter was a little girl, 4 or 5, we lived in Southern Humboldt, and I stayed in Stockton, worked at the port. She used to come and spend time with me, and I would take her to functions, and she thought she was doing me a favor by hanging out with me like that. I found this out not too long ago, and I go, Mika, why didn't you tell me? Because back then they didn't have all this stuff. They would give them crayons with a little, book, And I look at her, oh yeah, everyone was helping my daughter and shit. And she was just stuffing it, man. And when she told me that, see, I didn't take the time. I really thought she was enjoying hanging out. Now that I think about it, I wouldn't like that hanging out. You know, when I was a little kid, and she wanted to go out and do stuff, man. And I had the money, but I didn't do it. But anyway, when she told me that, now I try to work different with her babies.
Right.
Right? Because I never spanked her. That's for my defense. I never yelled. You know, yes, you did. I go, I did. I don't, you know, no, but I mean, you know, like spank.
Yeah.
And then she goes, yes, you did. You might as well have done that, Dad, because that's how I felt. And I wanted to spend time with you, so I wouldn't see. She was stuffing it, stuffing it. And I go, wow. And I asked her, why didn't you give me a hint or something? You know, I really thought you liked it. She goes, I didn't want to hurt your feelings.
Right.
Wow, see? She didn't want to hurt my feelings. And here I thought I was doing, instead of asking her, hey, man, did I hurt your feelings? Did I say something wrong? I do that now. And if it says no, I go, I don't believe it sometimes, but hey, at least I try.
Right.
You know, don't hold resentments towards nothing, man. Nothing. You know, because if I do, my actions can get me right back to where I came from without putting nothing in my system.
Right.
So, you know, just try to live as honest as you can and, you know, have respect for everybody, anybody out there. I try to give them respect, right? And that's all I can do. And it's work for me, you know. Other than my health, I'm blessed, man.
Yeah, because that's what people say, right? Spot it, got it. Right?
So-
If I spot it
yeah.
in you, I got it, right?
Yeah.
And if somebody tells me something and it hurts my feelings,
That means, yeah, looking at yourself now.
yeah, there might be something to it, right?
Even people that don't care about you, whatever. My sponsor always says that everything has, that's in the readings. Everything we experience is how we deal with it.
Right.
Because you still got to make a decision, right? Oh, it got me out of that one. I go, but yeah, we're doing the program now, right? Honest, open-minded, and willingness. I
Right.
have to be willing to accept you for who you are, whether you disrespect me or whatever. You know what? Walk away, man.
And
Yeah.
being willing enough to talk about your shortcomings at 34 years, right? Like, because I mean, that, like, a lot of people, once they've been around here a long time, they want you to think that they float on water, right?
Yeah.
And that it doesn't work that way, right? Like, we had an experience where we were in the same meeting room, right? And we had a gentleman, and he was talking to me, and he had a rough meeting, right? He came in and he was not happy to be there. And then he came back and he apologized to everybody. And he was talking to me after the meeting. And you were on your way out the door. And he said, "How long do I got to do these classes?" Right? And that's when I ushered to you. I said, "Jose, how long you been doing these classes?"
I
right?
remember.
Right? And we lost that member. Right? And he
okay.
passed away. You know,
Oh.
he decided not to stay. You
Yeah.
know, and it's not for everybody. Right?
No.
This thing isn't for everybody. But if you wind up somewhere like that, you might belong there, right?
Right. Well, you know, like stay open-minded, man. What do you got to lose? That's what I tell people. That's what they told me. Give it a shot, man. You know, you can always go back to where you go, da da da. And I didn't want to do that, man. Go
Right.
back, you know, anywhere. I just want to be left alone. But I have to live here now, and it showed me a new way to live without crossing people.
Right.
Right. That's all, and I'm still learning how to do that. And I'm happy where I'm at. And when I see somebody, I want to, you know, all I know, codependency is a bitch sometimes too. It gets me in trouble with my friends, you know, with my lady, with my mom, you know, and I don't want to hurt people's feelings. Like, where do you want to go eat? I don't care. And then when you go and oh, here, and I just want to go off. Like, and I go, okay. I used to change my mind all the time. And then I wanted to, you know, I just keep my mouth shut. They don't need to hear that.
Right.
And it's okay to change your mind or whatever. But I'm learning that still, man. Not everybody's like me. And
Yeah.
expectations, you know, expectations kick my ass. So. But I stay clean, and I try not to be judgmental, and I try to be as honest as I can with myself. That's
Right.
all I do on a daily basis, man.
Awesome. I think we wrapped it up pretty good. So you owe me a hug now. That's how we end this thing.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah, we always end it with a hug.
All right.
Jose, thank you, man. Appreciate you coming down and do this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Enjoy it, man.
Yeah.